Okay, good morning, everybody. So, um, this is I would just I woke up and replaced with the clone that speaks English. So now this video will be held in English, as I just when I woke up I don't replaced by Ra during the night, and this is Ra, but kind of English speaking Ra. It's I still don't know how to incorporate it into לקורפוס של ארון הספרים היהודי הספציפי הזה. אין לי אפילו ארון ספרים אחד בדירה, אבל I mean, maybe I would be able to kind of again deal with this kind of mythology later. So this will be a video. In this video, actually, it will be like a back to basics video. Like there will be nothing new in this video. From time to time, I kind of I do such kind of I reiterate things, even though you can find it in the channel, because things that are of importance, I allow myself, ללכת כזה לפני משורת הדין לקהל שלי, and then to do this service, to the audience, and repeat basic stuff, even though you can find it in the old videos, but because it's important, because I know that people, like to get everything super fresh, like this today. There is like a video that I call Old Fetish and New Fetish, in which I describe the difference between the fetishes of the past and the fetishes of today. The fetishes of ancient humans and your own fetishes. And this one were actually exactly the same. Exactly the same. I mean intellectual fetishes. So I explain very shortly. I said just explain that in the past there was the rotten fetish, and today there is the fresh fetish. In the past people only appreciated an idea or a set of ideas or a set of beliefs or a logical, I would say, system, only if it was possible to prove. You didn't actually need to prove that it's true, whatever it was, or that it's beneficial. That was not the main concern. If the system of belief that is in question is actually truthful or beneficial to humans or whatever. No, the question was, can you find evidence that will prove without any doubt that this is actually a very old system of beliefs? And only if it's very old, you can, you're allowed to use it to incorporate it into your own, the culture. This is the I call it this kind of fetish the Roman garum. The Roman garum. Because the Romans had this, the ancient Romans had this fetish. Not only them, many ancient cultures had this fetish, and I call it garum, and that's why they actually, even though eventually they completely destroyed the Jews, completely, without any mercy, it took them actually centuries to do so. For a long time, they were kind of lenient towards their misbehavior, because the Jews were always misbehaved. And other nations, other provinces, of Rome, Gallia or Germania, Britannia, if they misbehaved, the Romans crushed them almost immediately. They didn't give them any credit, but for the Jews, it was they gave them a lot of credit actually. Yes, eventually they were cool to them, but it took them a lot of time. And the reason is that because of the Roman garum, which is a fetish that they had towards ancient stuff. And they had they had strong attraction, unexplainable attraction towards things that were very, very old. So that's why they gave the Jews so much lenient to misbehave until they had enough of that. Garum is a Roman delicacy. It's like a condiment that was served very popular among the higher class societies in Rome. It's a juice that is made by taking fish. Doesn't matter what fish. For those that are really into it, they really know, the culinary expert. They can they tell the difference between different fish. But if you're not really, כזה master chef, אז זה לא כזה משנה לך איזה דג בדיוק. So they take the fish and they put it in a jar, and they put it outside. I mean, like in place that is sunny for like a month or so, and then after a month they get back and they take the juice from the bottom of, they throw it away, the fish, but they just take the juice from the bottom of the bird and they put it like in a small container, and this is Roman garum, and it's sold and served like as a delicacy. And in our time, I mean, it's exactly the opposite. Like, I mean, it must be super fresh. Like, I mean, it's a, I mean, if it's like one day old, it's like already, I mean, too ancient to be considered as valuable for modern life. Because, I mean, presumably modern audiences, I mean, require modern theories. And modern audiences are just, I mean, 5 hours old. I mean, that's like, I mean, so it must be like from right now. Like, I mean, if it's not from right now, it's like too old. And immediately suspected as a forgery. Like if the video was recorded, like, I mean, 1 day ago, or, I mean, the same video, I mean, with the same parameters, the same content is recorded today, the one from 1 day ago, I mean, would be considered, I mean, uncredible, because, I mean, it's probably an ancient hoax, like, you know, because it is known that ancient people were, I mean, presumably prone to irrational beliefs, and so you can't trust like, something that, you know, ancient people have said because they were stupid. And also because of the sheer amount of time that passed since, I mean, the creation of this artifact. I mean, one day passed. I mean, it's almost certain this is actually forgery, because, I mean, there was so much time to create forgeries. I mean, from the time that it was created, and it's so easy, presumably, to create a forgery, that it's almost inconceivable that the forgery had not been created. So that's why, I mean, if it's 1 day old, I mean, or if it's like just from today, it's like a huge difference for the people, especially if they are one of the. This is especially true for the intelligence services. Like, I mean, this is, but it's true to everybody, like all humans. That, I mean, it must be super fresh, because if it's old, I mean, which means like more than several hours old, I mean, first of all, it belongs to the state of mind of ancient people that, I mean, were irrational, as opposed to you guys that are super rational, presumably. So. And also, I mean, because of the amount of time that passed, I mean, you can pretty much, I mean, guarantee that, I mean, a forgery had been created. This is what I call the butterfly fetish, because famously butterflies live just 1 day, you know, at least in the final kind of like, you know, stage of life. So there's a question, and so I really want to very shortly speak about something that is very, I mean, on the one hand, the answer, I will present a question, and the answer is that I don't know. I mean, which is a bummer, but I mean, there is a longer version to the answer, and I will give you the slightly longer, but not much longer version of the answer. And I mean, it's important, I mean, it's a very basic question, but maybe, I mean, people are not kind of like new to the channel, or new to this, I mean, you know, realm of, you know, intelligence. So maybe, I mean, so if they're new, I mean, they might, like, I mean, be kind of like, I mean, it's probably one of the first questions that they will ask. So the question is, what is the difference between humans and titans? So the answer is, I don't know. But there is a longer version to the answer. Now, very shortly, I'll reiterate few basic things that are. Every point that I will now say can guarantee, I mean, if you're new to the topic, and if you put any, kind of like weight to what I say, I mean, if you don't think it's just random stuff, like, you don't have to believe everything, but I mean, if it's kind of, you know, if it's interesting to you, so every point that I say now is guaranteed to, to elicit some kind of argument that might, might spawn new arguments for like thousands of years, because it's like everything they say now and very shortly is like you can write like millions of books about it and speak about it forever. So it will be to say that what I'm going to say now is oversimplified is like it's oversimplified to say that it's oversimplified. It's actually just it's oversimplified because it's so much more. it's oversimplified in such an oversimplified way that just to say that it's oversimplified, it's in itself a sin of oversimplification of the level of the height of oversimplification of such things as we now discuss. So first of all, let's start with what's the same with them, because Aristotle. This is the Aristotelian method of how to describe something is to first describe what's the thing that you know already that is the most like it, and then say how it is different. By the way, the Neros are expert in the Aristotelian thought, and the Cherubian room is an example of Aristotelian thought. I don't know if you thought about it. Like you can ask, why are the places in Venus and Earth that are connected by the gate, a specific gate, look so similar? Like, do you want to kind of to make us to wrong us, like to make us like is kind of like a cool joke that supposed to להכשיל אנשים בטעות שהם פשוט שיטעו ויחשו, למה זה לא משהו אחר לגמרי שאז היה בקלות אפשר להבדיל? But the answer is that that's because it's exactly the opposite. הפוך. If I would have given you two places that look very different, but they are from planets that are very, very similar, like two places in Israel. No, let's make it even more different. Like something in Israel and something in Iceland or something like that. And I've told you one is from Israel and the other one is from Venus. You would have told me, and you don't know that you cannot identify the second place, only the first one. You know the place from Israel, but you don't know the place from Iceland. So you would have told me, no, it's not from Venus, it's from somewhere in Earth that you don't know of. Obviously, you took another video from a place that you know of. But we don't know about this place. But it's possible to think that it's from Venus. But if this place looks almost exactly the same, but demonstrably it's not the same, it's a huge question of where is the other place? Like, is it possible that a very bored, landscape artist in Iceland decided to recreate a piece of Ashkelon beach because, sometime when he was younger, he was spent a year as a volunteer, in one of the kibbutzes, Botef Aza, and still remembered, what at the time at least, because in Iceland, in no way, you should know that that the women are not, they're nice, but they're not well endowed. So sometimes when they come to Israel, they are shocked, they think this is like alien boobs. Like, what is this thing? Like from this thought from a manga thing. Like, what is this thing? Like, how is it so big? So so maybe it still has this fond memories, of the aliens. So we thought, okay, and presumably after some time, we became a famous artist in Iceland. He decided that, that is an homage to his memories, fond memories from when he was young, he spent a year in Otef Aza, b'kibbutzim. So, he should recreate, the piece of this, of the Gaza beach, to look like the Gaza Ashkelon beach, like in a beach somewhere in Iceland. This story probably, did not happen, I guess. Of course, there are other reasons for why the two places should be similar, but I don't want to get into it. But this is actually very in line with the other, I would say, aspects of the Neo language. And I don't want to. It's not just that. It's not just because almost to shut the mouths of skeptical rodents in microbial worlds, because these rodents will never shut their mouths. But there are other reasons why it's actually beneficial that the two places will be similar. Of course, it's not always possible because sometimes there is huge difference in the environment between the two planets. So this kind of similarity cannot be naturally occur, but you can still manufacture such similarities if you control, I mean, if you have some kind of, abilities, even very, very limited abilities to control this, I mean, to control the environment. For example, like if you want, for example, like, like, let's say you want, like you want to, maybe you want, like, one gate to be placed in like one side in Mercury and one side in Earth, like in Israel. So you would like manufacture like an environment in Israel. like you can create like like בסיס טירונים כזה נגיד כזה בישראל ושם לשים את השער, נגיד משהו כזה, כן? או כאילו מהפארקים האלה שכאילו יש איזה 3 שבועות בשנה בין הזמנים שכל החרדים כאילו יוצאים לאיזה חופש כזה ועושים כזה משהו בטבע, אז לעשות שם את השער. וכאילו, and that's why you create similarities, like, I mean, artificially, but it doesn't matter for the near world, it's still, as long as it's similar, it still holds, like, it's fine. Okay. So, according to this philosophy and also with Aristotle in mind, we can now, start with saying what's similar between these creatures. So, first of all, they share an ancestry. They are both descendants of another civilization, and I don't want to elaborate on that now. This is somewhat hinted in the Three Sisters fairy tale, which is not completed, unfortunately, because I didn't have time to do this. Only 3.5 hours or something like that are recorded, and there should be at least 2 or 3 hours additional that should be recorded. I kind of like I lost interest for a while, but I can get back to it. I was not that motivated, but this fairy tale, is to some extent an explanation of the situation in a dramatic way. But I don't want to get into it too much. Of course, because of the importance of this, I would say, important events or very important information finds its way to, represented again, and in all sorts of cultures, even if you don't have מסורה בנושא, like you can't explain how the people have been received these things, because, and this is to be explained by a phenomenon that are of the nature of prophecy, divination, and poetry, and this is a kind of a combination of these three. So that's why this event that I call the Titanomachy, you can see strains of this event. First of all, in Hesiod, but also Hesiodus, and also, of course, in the Bible and other ancient texts. Okay, so that's their lineage. So what about their nature and their interests? So, is the same with both, that everything that humans do, starts from like a certain age, and that is also true to Titans. Everything that they do is either directly, related to the realm of pursuing sexual activity, or an activity which is a symbolization or sublimation of sexual activity that they want to pursue. Like that's their only. They are both very basic creatures. They don't want to do much more than just replicate themselves. They're like grey goo, famously from scenarios, end of the day scenarios, that, grey goo is it's like a scenario of the end of the world in which a very simple, a nanobot is created that can replicate itself, and then just everything that they do, and then the whole world is covered with them, and then it looks like a grey goo. That's why they call the grey goo scenarios. And this actually happens both in Earth and in Venus. The grey goo scenario, and it's still going on, it didn't stop, actually. So that's the situation right now. This the Grey Goose scenario, and that's why both planets are not very nice, for a tourist or a traveler, because of the Grey Goose scenario. And because of that, I mean, there is like a huge pressure of like any individual to replicate itself. So that's why, I mean, everything that they do is related to sex, but sometimes there are bugs in the robots. Many robots they have bugs. Even though they are so simple, even like the simple firmware that they have, even that one is prone to malfunctions, and it's called copy fatigue, which means that, I mean, if you copy something too much, I mean, some copies will be faulty. It's good to every kind of copy, like it doesn't matter if it's discs or, you know, oral transfer, like, you know, or just, I mean, you know, or genome replication. It's phenomenal, like, it's like a mathematical phenomenon, like, I mean, it has a mathematical explanation. That, I mean, if you copy something again and again and again, some of the copies will be faulty. So because of copy fatigue, many of the robots, I mean, they are, the nanobots, they even, I mean, their very simple firmware is also, I mean, corrupted. So then they pursue sexual activities that are not even in a sublimed way or like a sublimated way or symbolized way. I mean, are related to like to cloning, which is their prime directive and only directive. Like their only directive, I mean, their only mission is to clone themselves. But sometimes they even like the firmware that is required for that is suffers from copy fatigue. And then, I mean, they do things that, I mean, are related, I mean, to the sexual realm, but does not serve like the cloning mission. They are defects. I mean, you know, defecting, כאילו, כמו לימונים כאלה, כמו מכוניות כאלו שיוצאות מהמפעל, תמיד כל הזמן הכל, ואתה לא יכול להסביר למה הכל נדפק כל הזמן. זה מוצג אפילו מוכר בחוק, בחלק מהמדינות, לימון, כאילו הרעיון הזה של מיני ייצור מקולל, שיצא מהמפעל והוא כל הזמן דפוק, כל הזמן, אתה לא מבין, והוא ממוסך למוסך, מההתחלה כאילו, ממוסך למוסך, ואתה לא מבין מה גרוע, ואין לזה הסבר פיזיקלי, זה משהו מתחום הדת, אבל זה מוכר I know that in some, like you know, states in this world, in the earth, it's actually, I mean, it's acknowledged by the law that, I mean, that this is a real thing. Like, some cars are lemons. I mean, they are always fucked. I mean, and I mean, you don't understand why. I mean, you just from the start. Like, I mean, they don't even need to wait too much, and then again, a garage after garage. So that's the problem. But I mean, anyway, be that as it may, like, I mean, whether they're like, you know, they suffer from copy fatigue or not, in any way, everything that is on their mind is either sex, which is, I mean, of course, a way to do the cloning, which is their prime and only directive, or sublimation, which is kind of like the same, but in a symbolized way. Now, this is true both for Titans and for humans. Now, they look almost the same. I mean, you cannot differentiate by the looks. I mean, who is who, and also manifestly, their IQ is extremely similar in a way that I cannot explain actually. And this is still a conundrum to me. I am an avid researcher of this topic, and I don't have an explanation to that. And when I say it's similar, I mean that both the average IQ and the ashonut, like the variance, is extremely similar in the two planets. This is actually a conundrum to me why it's like that. I mean, I don't have if you have an explanation to that, please tell me, because, I mean, please, you know, comment, because this, actually, I don't have like a simple explanation to this phenomenon. It's a phenomenon. It's not a simple phenomenon to explain. You know me that I do not spare nobody, like, אין לי רחמים ואין לי סימפתיה ואין לי אמפתיה ואין אצלי אף כאילו, אין פרוטקציות. If I would have thought that, I mean, one population has higher IQ on average than the other, I would have told you that without hesitation. Like, I mean, I don't expect anybody to like me, and I don't want, you know, anybody to like me. If it was like that, I would have told you so. But to my knowledge, I mean, after, you know, I have studies, you know, yes, mostly. Of course, I mean, we didn't say both. I mean, creatures are, I mean, they have males and females. So So I've studied mostly the female population of both sides, actually. Like, but from what I've seen, I mean, both have, on average, they have the same IQ. And I cannot explain how. I mean, I wouldn't expect it. If you just ask me what's your expectation, I would say, I mean, naturally, one population will have like a higher average IQ, but this is not the truth. Actually, they have the same average IQ, which is interesting. And in addition to it, the variance is also almost the same. Like, I cannot say what's the difference in variance. Maybe, I mean, one is higher, but it's probably the same. And this is a very important thing, shonut, and I tell you why. You think, I mean, of course, both are like bell curved, bell curved because I mean, IQ is a composite variable. It's like made or I mean, manufactured of a long series of other variables. So, according to Berditchev law or something like that, or Khrushchev law, what is Khrushchev or Berditchev, something like that, it must be bell curved. And it's true, it must be bell curved. But there are all sorts of bell curves, There are like, bells that are, very high and narrow, and there are the fat ones, I mean, bigger, I mean, there are, yes, Khrushchev or Berditchev, I mean, he postulated that it must be bell curved. And he was right, but still there are different versions of the bell curves. I mean, it's not just the one bell curve. And how the bell curves looks is mandated mostly, I mean, of course, at the center, like, at like the tip of the point in the center, it will, of course, it will be the average, which, as I said, is the same. But the shape is mandated by the variable mathematically that is called variance. And this, interestingly, is also almost the same in Earth and in Venus. Now, why is that important? Actually, variance of IQ in a population dictates, I mean, like in a planet, dictates what will be the fate of the planet much more than average IQ. Like the variance of the people of the planet, the IQ is much more important than the average IQ. Now, why is that so? I'll explain. Now, the higher the variance, the more you will have both geniuses and retards. And if the variance is lower, there will be more people that are near the average and very few retards and geniuses. Now, it should be said that there is not much difference between the average person and a retarded person, because both spend all their life in front of the TV eating crisps. So it doesn't really affect, the future of the planet if most people just, spend the time in front of the TV, watch some stupid show and eating crisps, or they spend the time in front of the TV watching even more stupid show, eating the same crisps. This does not have high, magnitude in how it affects the planet. But on the other hand, if there are only the geniuses affect, the planet, or only a very small amount of people in any society have any impact on the future of society. All the rest they are just cattle, they are like cows or sheep. Like they do the same all the time. They don't care, and they don't know nothing anyway. So they have no impact on the future of the planet. That's why if you have larger variety, you will have much more geniuses and a much brighter prospect for the planet. Yes, you will have much more retards, but you don't care about it because in any way they do the same as the average people. So what? So fucking what? So the variance is also about the same in both planets, which is very, very interesting, and I cannot explain it. Now, with regards to sexual preferences, intersexual selection. So, here, it's little, there are some things that are, it's a huge topic, and maybe I'll promise to speak about it in a different video, or probably even a series, because it's a very important topic, like, I mean, sexual selection. So I'll speak about it in a dedicated series. I'll just say that, I mean, in short, I would say that the sexual selection of, like, strategies of females in Earth and Venus are similar but not identical. There is some difference, and the sexual preferences of men in Venus and Earth are the same. But I just speak about now about the regular Grey Goo, not the defective Grey Goo. Let's leave them aside; they are not that important. So we speak about the normal standard firmware that, I mean, that all the nanobots have. So the sexual selection of females in Venus is that, I mean, that they are mating with a male only according to, like, to good looks. Like, it needs to look, like, to have a good look. That's the only thing that they care about. Now, in Venus, when you say something is good looking, it's identical. Like, in the language of the Venusians, they have the same word for good looking and big. It's the same word. They don't have different words for that. So it's the same to say that a man is good looking. It's just like saying that a man is big. Like, I mean, it's grammatically it's the same. These are the same words. They cannot even differentiate in the language between them. So it's just how big you are. Like the man is. Like, so if you ask, I mean, what? Like, I mean, height or muscles or fat. So the answer is yes. Yes. Now, the Venusian, the Earth females are not exactly like that, because they also just care about if the male is good looking. That's true, but their language is much more complicated because of. So we'll get into it in a bit, like in the differences section. I should just say right now, I mean, kind of foreshadow that their language is different. Like, is not just different, but it's much more complicated, the language in Earth, because most of their development, they are more ancient people than the Venusians. They had more time to develop, substantially more. But most of this time was actually dedicated, or almost all of this time, 99% of the time, or like experience points, were dedicated to the development of language. I mean, because that's the only thing that they care about is, like, language, like just that. So that's why, I mean, they have more complicated language. So for them, when to say like a man is good looking is a little bit, it's more complicated than in Venus. It's not exactly like that, but it's almost exactly like that, but it's not exactly like that. It's almost exactly like that, but it's not exactly like that. It's not grammatically the same to say that like a man is big or that a man is good looking, but it's almost like that. But there are actually, I mean, nuances here. I don't want to get too much into that, but this is like one difference. Now, the sexual selections of males, like how they choose what females to mate with, both in Venus and Earth are the same, and it's that the algorithm is that, I mean, you choose, I mean, any woman that is interested in you. So that's how do they choose their females in both planets. Okay. Now, there is something that is very, very different between these two cultures that I need to speak about. I'll speak about in a different video. It's a topic that I almost certainly have already covered. Like at least the Earth side was already covered in other videos. I'll try to find it. It's what I call the Sphinx lecture. It's like a lecture that, I mean, is like basics. I almost certainly I recorded because I speak about it a lot. It's like the basic conservative thought, like how conservatism is, like, can be explained by, to the college students that all their life, like, only consumed, cultural artifacts from Netflix. So how can you explain such ignorant creatures? I mean, anything at all about the conservative thoughts? I mean, you don't even have language with them because they only watch Netflix all their life. So everything that is conservative will be so alien to them that I mean you can't even start to speak with them. So I have a solution to that as well, and this is the Sphinx lecture, which is like the basic conservatives, as basic as possible, like for like people that know nothing about nothing. So this is for them. This is for them. And the lecture is centered around the riddle of the Sphinx, which is, as famously you know, I first heard this riddle when I was maybe 4 or 5 years old, probably 4 years old. Like I remember that from like 4 years, like 36 years ago. Like what animal walks on 3 during the morning, on 2 during the noon, and on 3 during the evening? What animal is it? This riddle is famously asked by the Sphinx to human that goes nearby, and if the human cannot answer it correctly, the Sphinx eats it, kills it and eats it. And it should be said that 2 things will be said here. First, that the answer is interestingly, I would say, manifested by the 2 characters in this story. The answer is the 2 characters. This is one interesting thing. And it should always be said that the Sphinx is, many people think, and I agree with that the Sphinx, the idea of the Sphinx is inherently related, not just by accident, but it's connected by cultural influence to the concept of Lamassu or Cherub, my own species, which is called Kruvim or Lamassu. And some people think that this is an manifestation of cultural influence of the same origin of the Sphinx. And I think it's true. I accept this interpretation. And the answer to the riddle is human. Now, I don't want to get too much into it and why, it's important. This belongs to another kind of speech. But all of this thing is not true to Venusians. The riddle of the Sphinx does not hold to Venusians. And this has all sorts of implications on their culture and their nature. Because they spend very little time of their life relative to the potential lifespan as children. While humans spend tremendous amount of their time, like a huge amount of time, out of the entire life of human is actually just a child. Sometimes up to 80%. In Israel, it's sometimes 95%. Like that is a child. Childhood sometimes in Israel only ended by the age of 75, and sometimes not even that. For example, like Shaul Ronen, like the husband of my mother, he is now, I think, 76, and he's still in his, he's still, הוא נתקע בילדות, כאילו, הוא נשאר שם, כאילו. וזה מאוד אופייני לאנשים האלה של המודיעין הישראלי. הם כולם נתקעו בילדות, והם לא, וככה זה, וזה נשאר ככה. זה ככה נשאר. So, this is not true to Venusians actually, because childhood is a percentage, the duration of childhood is a percentage of the entire life, or theoretical lifespan of a Venusian is actually very, very short. It's a very small percentage. That's why the riddle of the Sphinx does not hold for Venusians, and this has got tremendous implications on both cultures and civilizations. Now, in order to so this will not be too long, lecture. We'll stop here, and very soon I'll start another follow-up video on the same topic, but one that is dedicated specifically to the issue of the tea, which is of course something that you are all aware of the drug, or the neos as they call these things. And since it's so important, this is of course, as you know, humans don't have it regularly, and Titans have it in their body regularly. So this is, this is, of course, it's a huge source of tension between the planets, and so I'll speak about it in a different kind of dedicated video, which will be a follow-up to this video. So I describe like in how are they different specifically with regards to the T.